Welcome back this morning. We are taking some time right now to dig into the recent settlement involving the National Association of Realtors and how it might impact buyers, sellers, and realtors. Joining us this morning is Kristen Haseney, an attorney and assistant extension professor at UConn Center for Real Estate and Urban Economic Studies. She's also the faculty advisor for the UConn Real Estate Society. Kristen, thank you very much for being here with us this morning.
Thank you for inviting me.
This all goes back, right, a few years to a class action lawsuit. What really was the basis here for this? It was over commissions initially, correct?
Yes, it was. The allegation was that there was antitrust, that the NAR was price fixing because of the offer compensation field through the MLSs that were owned by the realtor associations.
And when we say NAR, we're talking about the National Association of Realtors, which is basically what, the largest group that works with realtors all across the country, including right here in Connecticut?
Yes, it's the largest trade association in the country. It is connected to the state associations as well as the local associations.
And for a really long time, 6% was kind of the basic, right?
Well, in Connecticut, it's been negotiable by law, so it's not a set rate. There's no control that anyone has. It's always been negotiable between client and realtor. It's
interesting, though. I think a lot of people, of course, have been through this process. And when you don't really know and you meet with an agent and they tell you it's 6%, this is what it is. This is the standard. People probably for a long time didn't realize maybe and weren't properly informed that they really could make a negotiation there or could make a change.
It's possible. It does state it on the contracts that it is negotiable by law. It's required to be included on the contract under Connecticut statutes because there is no standard. It's just a starting point to have that conversation between the client and the broker.
This could really save people a lot of money, right, in the selling process?
There's the potential for that, but there's also the potential that this won't change a whole lot either. That practice has been what it's been for several decades, and so there's the opportunity to make change and to pursue other business models, but it doesn't require it.
It's interesting when I read online about this. There's a lot of talk about how people, for years have worked as maybe real estate agents on the side. They have another day job and then they just on the weekends. And maybe this wouldn't be as financially, sound for them to continue this. They may not be worth all the work any longer. Do you anticipate people maybe leaving the field or making a change?
Not really.
No?
Because we've had buyer agency for so long and there have been contracts in place for buyer representation, this is not a new concept in the state, and so I don't see there being a lot of change.
I want to talk about the MLS. So I know this was part of the settlement here, some changes with how that works. Explain what that is and how it really provides a lot of information to really anyone, right? Sure.
So the MLS is the multiple listing service, and that's a great source of information for both realtors and their clients to find the property that they're looking for. The change with the proposed settlement is that the MLS is not going to be able to have the offer of compensation field on the MLS, and it will also require that the buyer broker show that there is a contract in place prior to doing a house showing.
When it comes to the market right now, obviously we're dealing with interest rates that maybe aren't as high as they were. They've come down a little bit, but they're not certainly as low as they were during the pandemic. Things have slowed down a little bit. Do you anticipate this could maybe boost the market a little bit and maybe get people to take some action?
I think it's possible because this is a good highlight for sellers to start to have those conversations more frequently with their clients, their brokers, I mean.
Yeah.
And buyer brokers can say, well, what can we do to make our offer more attractive? And so, people being aware of having these options, even though they had the options before, maybe people are more aware now. And so that might make some change in the market.
It's an overwhelming process for sure, right? So you meet with an agent, then there's always lawyers involved in all this stuff, and it's a lot for people when they're going through all of this. What is your advice when you talk to people who are looking for a house, new to this? What do you tell them?
I would say find someone that you trust. Once you engage a broker's services, you have a fiduciary duty, or they have a fiduciary duty to you. And so you can talk to them confidentially, you can talk about your motivations, you can talk about your budget, and then they can help guide you to, finding the property that you are looking for. Ultimately the buyer makes all the choices, but the realtor is there to provide their expertise and to, add that value to the transaction.
And correct me if I'm wrong, it seems important as well that if you're not comfortable or if you need to slow down or say, you know what, I just need some time, because they can say, hey, this is the offer, I need you to sign this by Friday or whatever. And those are things too that you can say, you know what, I gotta figure this out. Absolutely. It's always a two-way conversation. The realtor is going to advise what they think is best for their client, but ultimately the client is the one who makes the call. All right, the bottom line is we're in charge. Yes, absolutely. Definitely. And I was reading, too, that when it comes to this settlement, and you may or may not know more about this, that people who have already been through this process could potentially get some money out of this class action settlement. If they were a part of the lawsuit, perhaps it remains to be seen. So we have the information that we have from NAR, and we are waiting to see if it's approved by the judge. Yeah. And then from there, we'll have more information if it's approved. It's interesting, and that's kind of the bottom line right now, right? Is yes. That this just happened months ago. Is everybody still trying to figure out exactly what's going on here? I would say so. I think it's more sure in Connecticut what's going to happen because we already had these things in place other than the changes to the MLS, but the structure of how realtors serve their clients, that's not going to change in Connecticut. And so for us, it's really more of a sure thing. All right. Kristen Haseney, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it. Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good day. You too. And that is CT24 for this Sunday morning. CBS Sunday Morning is coming up next. Have a wonderful holiday weekend. Happy Easter. And I'll see you this week right here on Eyewitness News.